Waterwatch was really started through a lot of community water quality monitoring that was happening across Victoria. Really, it started through Saltwatch, which had started in 1987 through the salinity program, and so there was a lot of interest generated around monitoring salinity in catchments, and from there it kind of grew into, well, it's fantastic, maybe we can start monitoring some other elements of water quality in our rivers and waterways.
We saw rising groundwater tables, we saw some salinity impacts in our waterways, and people really started to get concerned, government started to get concerned, and there was a lot of work in the 80s and early 90s, salt action, joint action, these sorts of initiatives where people were looking at groundwater levels in their, on their farms, in their community.
Given that there were quite a few states and territories already doing community water quality monitoring, Victoria took a bit of a lead and coordinated a bit of a gathering in Cobram in 1992, where we thought maybe if we could lobby the Commonwealth Government, we could get a bit of interest in making something happen nationally. And as it turned out, in December 92, the Prime Minister's Environment Statement actually incorporated a component of it for community water quality monitoring, and so a national program was born. So in 93, it was something like $2.9 million was allocated towards the program nationally over 3 years, so Waterwatch was born. In Victoria, we had really only 16 groups, and so we piloted in 3 catchments in Victoria. So we started off small, but believe it or not, it was such a great idea that very quickly a lot of the communities came on board, and within a couple of years we had tens of thousands of people actually monitoring.
Waterwatch is hugely important. It's a great way for the Catchment Management Authority to connect with what's happening in our catchments in a really constructive partnership with our community. It's also a great way to have education and awareness embedded in our schools through the River Detectives program.
They get to have a visitor facilitator come in a few times a year to deliver a fantastic activity and educate the kids and provide input into their environmental education programs. Evoking passion at a young age is vital to the success of natural resource management, because these kids are our future leaders, they're our future scientists, they're our future farmers.
And I think that Waterwatch really provides an outstanding vehicle for practical involvement in science and environmental sort of issues.
I do it with them. They understand all the processes, they understand the equipment, they train up newcomers to the group, so yes, they're fairly keen, which is fantastic because, you know, you're getting kids to have a real appreciation of their environment, and more importantly about the river and how healthy it is or what we need to do.
One of the greatest challenges for us in the early days was making the scientists really aware that, and making it as simple as possible for community to get on board and for it to be very practical, accessible, very easy to monitor different parameters.
We answered an ad that was in a local paper asking people who were interested in testing the water quality around them, and since we were interested in environment, we joined in.
And my passions are the water quality, just watching the quality of the water and trying to keep water quality good, and it provides a good habitat or a good environment, or a good home to platypus that I've got in the creek, and a number of bird life and frogs, of course, and I'm pleased to see the return of some fish into the river after the droughts of several years ago now.
There's a lot of the farmers have actually fenced off the river now, so just seeing the difference in the vegetation growing on the water, on the banks, and water rats. I've been seeing quite a few water rats, which has been lovely.
Probably the biggest challenge was doing a water watch when the water was up to my ankles in the shed where when the flood came through Rochester in 2011 in January. Yeah, there's plenty of water then. I could have just grabbed a sample at my feet because that's where the river was.
getting to the river itself through the drought times was a little bit tricky. But since the floods, the river's just been absolutely beautiful. It's amazing how Mother Nature can repair such damage.
The erosion from the speed of the water and what have you has actually taken quite a bit of the bank out of the river where I take my sample from. I used to walk right down to the water's edge, and I can't actually do that now. I've just got to extend my pole and dip it in.
Lots of lovely vegetation, there's lots of birds, there's lots of animal life in the water, so it's really just lovely to see something come back to life again.
What you do is then taken to another level and documented on the Waterwatch site. It's there as data forever for comparisons, so that we can, work on making the river healthier.
Anyone can access the data, so we have uni students, TAFE students, land care groups, and the CMA themselves, other programs access the data too.
It does enable us to have a much greater level of visibility on what's happening in our waterways than we otherwise could achieve. It enables us to understand what's happening with water quality. It can raise some alarm bells for us as to, hey, there's something happening here in a given waterway, whether it's salinity or other water quality measures.
It helps you keep an eye on nature, the environment and the quality of the water, and it's a real interest, and you can become quite determined in your efforts sometimes as well.
They've seen the Millennium Drought. They've now seen the biggest floods in living memory in 2010-11 in north central Victoria, and so they've seen everything along the spectrum of what happens in their local waterway, and that is just hugely important knowledge, and to have that, to be connected with that through the CMA and the Waterwatch program is a really significant and valuable part of us improving our knowledge of our catchment as well.
They're really very interested in what's going on in their waterways and creeks and rivers. They're really connected to their places, and they're having fun while they're doing it. So they're learning, they're doing, and they're having fun, but also providing absolutely relevant and fantastic information to the managers of those areas.
I think it's actually meeting with other people who are doing the same work that we're doing. The regular get-togethers we have where we're either checking our equipment or just socialising are really good, that there are to meet other people with similar interests.
I think just being out in the nature and just in the environment, I think if anyone wants to make a difference, as small a difference as what it could be, whether it's, when you're walking, doing your testing, picking up a bit of rubbish, I think anyone should give it a go. It's not that hard. You've got a great support network around you to help you with any hiccups that you come across, whether it's putting the data onto the internet or just, getting your equipment up and going. The difference that it makes you feel really good about yourself, that you're doing something for the environment.
That's what I'd say, that you're doing something that's really worthwhile in the environment. It's lovely just to go down onto the river and you're actually connecting with nature, and it's just a beautiful time down by the river. Everything else stops in your life.
I suppose a really feeling within that you might be doing something that will be helping, because I think, we all want to do something to help.
We are very grateful for the countless hours that Waterwatch volunteers put in, and for a lot of people that's every month they're getting out, and for many people it's multiple sites, and also for the schools and the teachers and the cooperation that we get through the embedding some of the Waterwatch work into curriculum. It's basically a message of sincere thanks for all of the effort that you've put in.
I got more involved when I started to actually see what was in the water, the life that lives in the water, and that encouraged me to be more diligent in my effort to make sure that life in the water survived and lived on into the future.